Good evening, guys. Welcome back to Ansarkari. So let's start with our today's discussion for 19th of December. So the first topic is related to citizenship. So the government makes the path to citizenship easier for 6 minority groups from 3 nations. So basically, what are those 6 minority groups? It includes Hindus, Sikh, Parsis, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, from 3 countries, that is Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. So they'll be allowed to produce their expired passports and visas. And you should be knowing that Home Ministry deals with the cases related to citizenship. And you can see in this picture that Argentina wins the FIFA World Cup. In talking about INS Mormugoa, so it has been commissioned into the Navy, and we'll be looking into its detail further in the video. So here we have all the political news. Okay, from the editorial section. So this article, it is talking about how should we deal with the pendency of cases in our Indian judiciary. So what are, we can say, the new solutions that we should be adopting so as to reduce the pendency of cases. So our Chief Justice of India said that increasing the number of judges or increasing the strength in judiciary is not a solution, and it is not a solution to this perennial problem of pendency of the cases. So he said that the problem lies in the system of governance. So here we'll be looking into 3 suggestions that are provided by this article. And so the first one is talking about, first it is saying that there's a trend that we are witnessing, that we are finding it difficult to get good talent when it comes to appointment of judges to the high courts. But at the same time, we are also witnessing an increase in the number of experienced and fine judges retiring from the high courts because they have reached the retirement age when it comes to the high court judges, that is 62 years. So we can say it is a kind of double whammy. And for that, to deal with this situation, the first solution that it is providing is that we need to bring back the retired Supreme Court judges to hear the admission of special leave petitions. So yesterday only we saw that the special leave petitions, they form the largest proportion of pending cases in the Indian judiciary. So this is one thing, and it is also saying that we should also bring in the experienced High Court senior advocates to sit as judges once a week to hear the matters from another state High Court. So, this is the first solution. Then, the second solution that is suggested is we need to cultivate online justice system. And again, it will definitely help us in reducing the pendency of cases, but there are certain other benefits out of it, which includes that will not be needing more investment when it comes to brick and mortar structure. We'll not be needing any more staff or more infrastructure. So we can say it is less costly. Then it is obviously going to save our carbon footprint. And we saw that during the pandemic, we were able to see that how potentially and how useful, we can say that the virtual delivery of justice can be important. And it, like, obviously our judges, they become, we can say, more handy with the technology during that time. But post pandemic, we saw that we again went back to the old system of physical hearings. So we need to adopt a hybrid system, and this is the second solution. And the third solution relates to employing the method of mediation. So, this is a method of dispute resolution, and it is far superior to litigation in cases where it can be applied. And mediation can be applied in cases when it comes to personal and matrimonial, to civil and commercial and property disputes. And looking at our current experience from this mediation method, we see that like most mediation centers, they have a success rate of over 50%, and it is definitely going to have the capacity to lift half the load of the pendency of the cases. So that is, we can say, the power of this method of mediation, which needs to be employed at a much larger scale, and it is going to cost less. It takes a fraction of time litigation does, and then it brings about settlements which all sides can agree to. Then it eliminates appeals. It is easy to enforce if necessary, and respects and restores relationships. So these are all the benefits that we can say that comes out of the method of mediation. And obviously it can be a professionally attractive career option also. So these are the three solutions, we can say, the modern day solutions to dealing with the pendency of the cases in our Indian judicial system. And ending with the Sri Aurobindo's great writing, that is the hour of God. The moment has arrived, but will we lose it because the lamp is not being kept trimmed for the welcome, and the ears are sealed to the call? So that was all that we had to discuss from this article. And talking about the GST Council, we talked about this yesterday also, that there was no real, we can say, outcomes out of this meeting. And however, one step which it took was regarding the decriminalization of certain offences for the taxpayers, with a higher rupees 2 crore threshold for initiating prosecutions, except in the cases involving the fake invoices. And there were no discussions when it comes to the establishment of the GST Appellate Tribunal. So there were no real, we can say, outcomes out of it. And also, there were no discussions when it comes to imposition of tax for the booming online gaming businesses. Then we have, like, there's nothing new in this article. It is again talking about the decriminalization of the offenses under the GST. Nothing much for us. Then we'll be talking about what is deep fake technology. So deep fakes, they are a compilation of artificial images and audio put together with machine learning algorithms to spread misinformation and replace a real person's appearance, voice, or both with similar artificial likeliness or voices. So it can create people who do not exist, and it can fake real people saying and doing things they did not say or do. So that is what we mean by deep fake. And China, it has come up with a new policy to curb it. So the policy requires deep synthesis service providers and users to ensure that any doctored content using the technology is explicitly labeled, and it can be traced back to its source. So that is one thing. And what was the need of such a policy? So China's cyberspace watchdog said that it was concerned that unchecked development and use of deep synthesis, it could lead to its use in criminal activities like online scams or defamation. And also it aims to curb the risks that might arise from the activities provided by the platforms which use deep learning or virtual reality to alter any online content. So it can be basically misusing the online content also. So we need to ensure that that does not happen, and it is the online activities are well regulated. Then talking about the other countries having policies to counter deep fakes. So European Union has an updated code of practice to stop the spread of disinformation through deep fakes, and the revised code requires the tech companies like Google, Meta, and Twitter to take measures in countering it and fake accounts on other platforms. And as far as India is concerned, there are no legal rules against using deepfake technology, and there are specific laws that can be addressed for misusing the technology, which includes the copyright violation, defamation, and cyber felonies. So that is the current situation, and I hope you're clear with the meaning of deep fakes. Then, as we talked about the commissioning of INS Mormugoa, so it has been named after the historic port city of Mormugoa on the west coast, that is in the state of Goa, and it is installed with propelled. Basically, it is propelled by four powerful gas turbines. Then it is equipped with BrahMos cruise missiles, and it is the second of the four stealth guided missile destroyers which are being built under the Project 15B. So, Mormugoa is the ship was commissioned on the eve of 60th anniversary of the liberation of Goa from Portuguese rule. So we were celebrating this occasion and commissioned it. Then the design of the ships has been developed in-house by the Directorate of Naval Design, and it has been constructed by Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, and they are a follow-on of the Kolkata class destroyers, and they are named after the major cities from all four corners of the country, which includes Vishakhapatnam, Mormugoa, Imphal, and Surat. So INS Vishakhapatnam, it was commissioned in 2021, and now we have commissioned INS Mormugoa. Then talking about INS Imphal and INS Surat, they are in their development stages. So that is, we can say, one of the most important development. Then we see that net direct tax revenue is up by 20%. And talking about the net tax collection, it has increased by approximately 20% for the financial year 2022-23. Then we see comparing the total collection from the corporation tax and the personal income tax. So the revenue from the corporation tax is higher than that from the personal income tax. And talking about the net direct tax collection, so it has components from the corporation tax, personal income tax, and securities transaction tax. So you should be knowing about all these. And talking about the importance of Northeast India. So Northeast is not last part of our country, but it's a gateway for trade and ties with Southeast Asian countries. This is what our Prime Minister has to say, and government's motto when it comes to the development in the Northeast is act fast for Northeast and act first for Northeast. Also, PM was addressing the Golden Jubilee celebration of the Northeastern Council, which is headed by the Home Minister, and the Northeast Council. It was established in 1971, and it is the nodal agency for the economic and social development of the Northeastern region, comprising 8 states. So, what are the 8 states? I hope you must be knowing about this already. So, I'll just name them: Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya, Assam, and Sikkim. So these are the 8 states, and the government's vibrant border village program, it would help develop these areas on par with urban centers. So this is, we can say, one program that is being run for the development of northeastern region. Then we have worked upon improving the air connectivity of Northeast India with other regions of India. Infrastructure the projects, they have gained momentum after the launch of PM Devine scheme. So you can find out more about what is PM Devine. Then we are also working on improving the digital connectivity, which will be increased, or which will be increasing the optical fiber network, and it would help in, we can say, coming up of more startup culture and preventing out migration from this region. That is, we can say, one of the challenges that we have to deal with when it comes to Northeast India. And obviously, we know about the importance when it comes to trade relations with the Southeast Asian nations. So ASEAN becomes important here. And the next article is talking about the need for new biodiversity fund. So currently, COP15 biodiversity conference in Montreal was being held, that is in Canada. So India said that the developing nations, they bear most of the burden of implementing the targets for conservation, and therefore we require adequate funds and technology transfer for this purpose. So, conservation of biodiversity must also be based on common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. So, this we also discussed when we were discussing about COP27 in the context of climate change. And here you should be knowing about Convention of Biological Diversity, find out more about this. And so far, the Global Environment Facility, it caters to the multiple conventions, including the UNFCCC, that is the United Nations Framework Convention to Combat Climate Change, and UN Convention to Combat Desertification remains the only source of funding for biodiversity conservation as of now. And also, it held a discussion on eliminating the subsidies that are harmful to the environment, such as subsidies for fossil fuel production, for agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. However, India did not agree on reducing agriculture related subsidies. And talking about the approach that we should adopt when it comes to biodiversity conservation and preservation. So, we should be going with the ecosystem approaches for conservation of biodiversity need to be adopted rather than going for the nature based solutions. So, that is there. So, that's it. Thank you for joining Ansarkari. I hope you learned something new and understood all the relevant topics that we discussed today. And you will get the PDF link in the description box. So thank you for joining. See you tomorrow.